Well, good afternoon, everybody. Are you ready for some real talk on a Friday afternoon? We're going to be talking about what I consider to be probably the most disturbing aspect of Chinese society, modern Chinese society. And this is not a dig at Chinese people. This is a dig at society and what's caused it, because it's definitely a mainland China thing. It's something that I've observed almost exclusively in mainland China. But I haven't observed it in Hong Kong or Taiwan or Macau or any other place where you've got a large Chinese, ethnic group. So it's a mainland Chinese societal problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, of course, with an anecdote, as I always do. I base everything that I talk about on my own personal experience, things I've seen with my own eyes. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things, and then I'm going to show you some footage, and we're going to look at and discuss a couple of things. So we're going to begin with the story of the car accident. Now, this is a very long time ago, I was hanging out with a girl in the Shekou area of Shenzhen, which is, there's a lot of nice bars and things down there. Anyway, this is a girl I knew, and we were heading towards a hotel. And on the way back, there was a horrific car crash in front of us. What happened is somebody, I don't even know how it happened, because I just heard the noise, and when we went around the corner, there was a car that had flipped over onto its roof. Fresh, just happened, just heard it, came around the corner. And I was the only one there with this girl. So I ran up to the car crash, and inside there were still people, and there was a young boy inside. And so I immediately started to, pull the young boy out of the car. And she was shouting at me to leave it alone. Don't touch, don't go anywhere near that, don't do anything, just leave it alone. Just let's ignore it, let's walk past. I couldn't quite understand why. I mean, I know there's this thing about not moving people if they've been in an accident and they're injured, but this is a different situation. The car just flipped over. I could see that they were in immediate danger if I didn't help get the people out of the car. So I was getting first the young boy out of the car, and nobody else was helping. There was a crowd that started to gather around, and this girl that I was with just kept insisting that we move on and we leave it alone. And like I said, I was a bit taken aback by the whole situation, but it's something that I would slowly realize is actually a very big part of mainland Chinese society, is this whole thing about not helping people in need. And there are all sorts of reasons for it. We'll go through it in this video. And in story, basically, is I started shouting at the crowd to help me get everyone out. Eventually, because they saw I was doing it, a couple of people came and helped, and we got everyone out of the car. And then we left after that. I've got countless stories of things I've actually done, which you've seen in the past. I've talked about them, like stopping pickpockets, where quite clearly people can see that there's a pickpocket, but no one says a thing. I see it, I shout, I chase them away. And then my co-workers telling me that I shouldn't have done it because it's too dangerous to stop a pickpocket. Stopping that fight at McDonald's, which is actually caught on camera, that I've shown a few times. That's not the first time I've stopped a fight. But when you've got people beating on someone defenselessly, just sitting there, everyone around doesn't do anything. It's very, very, very disturbing. Now, I've been sent a whole bunch of videos recently on WeChat and so on from my Chinese friends, especially about a social experiment about a young boy trying to ask for some money from strangers in China. Now, I know this video. I saw it about 2 years ago, and it comes from a prank group. There's a prank group who does these sort of things. They're Taiwanese, and they do these social experiments in mainland China. It's very telling, the results of these social experiments. So I thought we'd go through some of these and just take a look and see what's going on and how people react. This is, again, when I talk about this kind of thing, you'll get a lot of people who basically tell me that I'm talking shit. That's what they like to say. And they make up excuses for this behavior all the time. The thing is, the best way for people to see that it's a real thing is, because a lot of people won't take my word for it, is to actually show people this whole sort of apathy and crap in action. So we're going to look at these. I'm going to talk through what we see on the screen. We're going to go through them. I'll skip through a bunch of stuff, but let's get started actually. Now this group, I will link their YouTube channel. They did a bunch of social experiments. First of all, I hate social experiments, number one. I hate prank channels, number two. But I find what these guys did to be invaluable to give everyone out there an insight into mainland Chinese society. So I'm going to roll this first clip, and then we'll talk about it as it goes. So let's begin.
Hey guys, 这里是大鹏鹿港。那今天呢，我要在大门上绑架炮，让我们来看看大家有什么样的反应。
Okay, so sorry, I was blocking some of the subtitles, but they're doing a social experiment here where they're kidnapping a young boy in public in mainland China. And as you see, they just ran off with him. And what's happening over here is, I'll get me out of the picture there. Can I have a chuckle about it? Not our problem, right? Let's see what happens next. Yep, grab him, run away. What does the woman on the bench do? Not my problem. This is not staged, by the way. I know some people might think it's staged, but it's not. Yeah, okay. Let's move on to the next one. Bunch of girls there. You know, what if this is your kid? You got to ask yourself that question. And the reason I know this isn't staged is I have seen the same reaction from people like this myself, personally. When something bad happens, I've seen people get run over and killed on the street, and people just look at, just look on. Look at this guy. He's like, yeah, it's like, Kanchimakan, Biakan means don't look. What are you looking at? Don't look. Walk on. Think about this. Kidnapping is a massive problem in China. We all know that. But this just proves to you why. Because nobody ever steps in to help. Here we are in a very popular area. Nothing's happening. No one, not a single person lifts a finger. So yeah, it's disturbing. If you haven't seen it in action yourself, you might be very shocked, But this is kind of how things happen in modern day China. So this is a kid, right? If you are going to try to kidnap a kid in China, as you can see, the chances of anyone stepping in are minimal. Let's talk about why for a second before we move on to the next little clip. Oh, let's just see one more in a shopping mall. I've actually been there. Yep. See, families, everybody, staff. No one steps in to help. Like everybody, they're all given a chance to help out, but nobody does. Not my problem, right? Just move on. And yeah, last one. I know this is dragging on a little bit, but yeah. These are the streets of Shenzhen, by the way. From what I can see anyway. Yeah. All right, this is a different social experiment thing. We'll get onto that in a minute. This is something that happens all the time in China. It doesn't matter. If something serious happens, something bad, it's, Shenzhen, which is a first-tier city, it's the most civilized, supposedly, city in China. I've myself had to help people that have been in trouble, and nobody steps in to help. A woman died because she passed out at the entrance of the Shenzhen metro and lay there for 2 hours, passed out. Nobody helped her, and she passed away. These kind of things happen. And it's a big, big problem in China. It's not something that's going away. It's probably going to get worse, in fact, under the current system. Because in China, if it's not your problem, you leave it alone. It's ingrained by parents, society, everything, that if you try to get involved in any kind of bad issue or anything that's happening, you're probably going to end up getting scammed, or you're going to end up getting into trouble. It's going to be blamed on you. It's going to inconvenience your life. You're going to have to end up paying money. You're going to have to end up having to do something. And this is the weakness of China, is nobody wants anything to be a hassle. So they don't step in and they don't help. It's an absolutely awful, awful part of Chinese society. And it comes from the fact that China went through all those terrible days during communism, the communist stuff, during the Great Leap Backwards and the Cultural Devolution. Basically a situation where people were ratting each other out. Everybody was scared of what the government was going to do. All this other kind of nonsense that went on. It's kind of led to this current situation. Now, China's become, Chinese society's become very greedy and very insulated. People care only about their close family and close friends, but strangers are all seen with suspicion, which is, a horrible, horrible thing. So much so that when you see someone getting hurt or you see somebody in trouble, the first thing you do is think that they're trying to scam you. Anyway, let's move on to the next one because, okay, kidnapping a child or whatever, maybe you don't think it's that bad. What if someone tries to kidnap a grown woman in front of your eyes? Let's see what happens. Okay, I know that, don't worry, it's not only kidnapping in this video. We'll move on to other stuff. But here, let's abduct this woman. And she runs off. What do you think this uncle's going to do here? Pretty much as you expected, nothing, right? Let's see who's next. Okay, I got a couple healthy young lads here watching a woman getting kidnapped. What do? They turn their heads and keep on walking. Here we go again. Young man, what does he do? Nothing. Not my problem. I don't want to get involved. I don't want any issues. Let's see who's next. Bunch of workers. They should be like tough construction workers. She's shouting, by the way, like "Jiao or means save me, help me, and they're not doing anything. What do we got here? Two very manly looking guys. Actually, I take that back. Two guys, two strong, strapping young lads. They're obviously having a thought about maybe helping. So far, they're the nicest, but it looks like pink shirt guy wants to maybe do something. Maybe not. Okay, so there she goes, running out of the bush with guys chasing after her. What does this guy do? Hey, not my problem. It's crazy, but when you see these kind of social experiments, it actually shows you very clearly that this is a big problem in China. Absolutely. Yeah, that guy looks tough enough. What does he do? Nah. Not my problem. I'm out of here. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but personally, if I saw a young woman being abducted like that and dragged off into the bushes, that guy who dragged him off would be in a lot of trouble. I'd chase right in there. I'd beat the crap out of that guy and I would rescue her. This is what's built into just the way I was brought up. Obviously not in mainland China. The opposite is built into people. The way they're brought up is to, when you see something like that, you don't help, you distance yourself from it. That is, a pretty awful situation. Anyway, this Dapeng prank is coming back. Now, let me first preface what's going to happen here. And in fact, I need to tell you another little thing. Foreigners who go to China, like myself included, would look at some kind of video like this and think, nah, this isn't true. I've experienced the opposite. I find the people of China very friendly, very hospitable, always want to talk to me. They're generous. They want to buy me a drink, or, they always want to make sure that I'm having a good time, things like that. And that's true. Because what I'm talking about here is how Chinese people in mainland China treat other Chinese people in mainland China, not how Chinese people in mainland China treat foreigners. It's different. And that comes down to, well, first of all, they're curious, they want to know about you, they want to, get to know you, things like that. But it's also a situation where they trust foreigners more than they do local Chinese people. And again, anecdotally, a young girl that I knew in her early 20s moved to Shenzhen to seek her fortune, and she was working hard and saving up all her money. And she met a kind of a motherly figure. who's probably in her late 30s or so, who kind of groomed her and ended up stealing every last cent from her, scammed her out of everything, and so she had to leave Shenzhen, and it completely destroyed her faith in humanity. And that's one of the many stories of people that I personally know. China is full of scams. It is. People are out there, 能骗就骗. People are out there to make money. So much so that all Chinese people that I know are pretty scam savvy. They know what the deal is, and that's also what leads to this, is because they know of all the myriad of scams that are being concocted every other day in mainland China. They're afraid that what's happening in front of them is another scam. Anyway, let's look at this. This is another very good example. We've got this young boy. This is again the Dapeng prank guys. Like I said, I will be putting a link to their channel and whatnot at the end of the video, because most of the prank stuff, not the previous one, but most of the ones we're looking at here come from them. So let's take a look at this Dapeng prank thing. This young boy is asking very politely, can you give me 2 RMB? 2 RMB is, in US dollars, it's like a couple cents. Let me look it up. Sorry, I want to actually let you know. So, let's see. 2 CNY, CNY in US dollars is 0.29 US dollars, so 30 cents. And it's true, in mainland China, in the cities, 2 RMB is enough to take a bus almost anywhere. And it's fantastic. That's one of the beauties of China, is the public transport system. As much as you can talk about traffic being bad and what have you, and how difficult it is to get a car and stuff, public transport is amazing. They manage to move that entire population around the cities, and it's insane. Unless you've experienced it for yourself, you wouldn't know. Anyway, so this young boy, he would like 2 RMB. Why does he want 2 RMB? Let's see. He wants to take a bus. Okay, so now he's going to go ask some random people in the street. I'd like us to look at each one. We can take a look that he's asking people from different social statuses and different walks of life. So let's begin. Okay, now he's being very polite. He's like, aye, which means auntie, could I have 2 RMB to take a bus? She's like, 不可以. 不可以 really means like, it's not okay. That's the translation, which is kind of crappy. She looks like she's a young sales lady. She's a young professional. So she's like, no. I mean, come on, it's 30 cents. He's a young boy. He's not like... Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Okay, sorry, I'm blocking the subtitles. I'll move myself out of there. Again, you see that he asked him very, very politely, sir, do you have 2 RMB? He's like, huh? And he's like, no. All right, that guy's like a very normal, sort of average working class kind of guy, middle class guy. He's got money, but he can't part with 30 cents. Let's see, who do we have next? Okay. There you have a mother. She just ignores him. Look, this ignoring thing is very common. Of course, in the big Chinese cities, you have a lot of beggars always trying to take money from you. You've got people trying to scam you. So you generally do ignore most people who approach you on the street. But, I mean, she's a mother and that's a young boy. You would think that she could spare 30 cents. Apparently not. The thing is, he's also well-dressed. And he's being polite. So it's not like he's a beggar kid, because you get a lot of these beggar gangs who, dress, they maim the children or they dress them dirtily and they kind of make this sympathy plea thing. And sometimes you understand why people don't give money to those people, because then they're feeding the gangs and stuff. But this over here is, a well-dressed young boy. I'm also going to just preface this a little bit. This video was taken 2 years ago. That's why I saw it 2 years ago. But it hasn't changed since then, because I noticed this very recently as well. Okay. You see what she did there? I've seen this a million times. She looks at him with a look of disbelief, She's suspicious. This guy must be trying to scam me. He's got some kind of angle. Ignores him and walks on. 30 cents, guys. 30 cents.
姐姐可不可以给我2元钱？我想坐公交车。
See, she gave him the wave, the booyah wave. And that's, you know, kind of, I mean, it's pretty crappy how people are ignoring this boy. She's young. She's obviously got money. Everybody that he's approached so far has been pretty, you know, pretty all right. Let's see.
叔叔可不可以给我2元钱？我想坐公交车。
Okay, that guy's a little lower class than the other ones we've been seeing so far. He's also just ignored him completely. So, you know, we're looking at people from different classes. How about this young lady?
姐姐可不可以给我2元钱？我想坐公交车。
Nope, just ignore him. Just keep on walking. And this guy, he looks like a driver or
可
something.
以给我2元钱？我想坐公交车。
Nope. Just ignore. Let's have another one.
给我2元钱？我想坐公交车。
Nope, completely ignored. You see what I'm talking about here is look how people just ignore him. Because she's even running away from him. It's like scared that he's gonna scam her, you know? How about this one?
坐公交车。
Give him a disapproving look and walk off. Suspicious look. Yeah. He obviously doesn't feel very good about society at the moment. Here's the uplifting part of this video, because it's not all doom and gloom, right? He actually asked a beggar. See what happens there.
老爷爷可不可以给我2块钱？我想坐公交车。 谢谢。
Yeah. It's kind of unexpected. Look, there's more to this video. That's why, like I said, I will be leaving a link to this channel so you can go watch later. But they actually do go and they, you know, they bought some food and some clothes for that homeless guy as like a thank you. Or the beggar guy, I should say. Most beggars aren't actually homeless. And, you know, we went and gave it to him. So it's pretty awesome. Thing is, man, like, this is what I'm talking about. Society is so sick at the moment in mainland China. This is one of the sicknesses. There are a lot of good things about society in mainland China too, don't get me wrong. But this is my biggest gripe. My absolute biggest gripe about mainland Chinese society is the fact that people will not help their fellow man. Unless, of course, it's convenient. If it's convenient, then they will. But if it's going to put them in any kind of trouble whatsoever, they can't even part with 30 US cents to help a young boy, right? Last time I told you guys that China has the lowest rate of charitable contributions in the world. Maybe you can see why. If people aren't willing to part with 30 US cents to help a young boy, why would they part with any money to help starving kids in Africa or to help educate poor rural Chinese kids in a rural area? You know what I mean? You have to understand that this is it's part of society in mainland China. Now, let's move on to another prank, also by the Dapeng prank guys. And we're going to look at something that I'm very familiar with. It really pisses me off, and I've had a lot of I've had a lot of experience dealing with. And that is, of course, pickpocketing. So let's see. Let me get myself out of here. Okay, so one of them is going to pretend to be a thief. And we're going to see. These guys are from Taiwan, by the way, but they shoot all this stuff in mainland China. Okay. Now you see that guy on the bench looks like a mean guy, but he's like, not my problem. Okay, so there's another guy sitting on the bench. What's going to happen this time? Yep, not my problem. Just carry on messing around. He just looks at him. You know, you could at least warn the guy. This is a security guard. He sees it and he's like, oh well, let me go watch Weibo a little more. You know? Young woman obviously won't do anything. Yep, nothing. What do we got here? Middle-aged woman. Nope, not my problem. Let's see what's next. Yeah, he's a kind of a middle-aged guy. He sees exactly what happens. What does he do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And again, another middle-aged guy. Bam. Sees everything. Just sits there. I've seen this with my own eyes. You know, that's the thing. That's why I know this is not bullshit. Okay? I've been a part of this because I've seen this happen, and I've stopped a thief twice in mainland China. I've myself personally, because nobody else did a damn thing. That's why I can talk about it from my own experience. You know, here we go again. Anyone gonna see that? Nope. Nope. Nothing. Yeah, it's super, super frustrating to see this, that society is, you know, sunk this low. You know, there we go, nothing. And there's a family. Yep, father sees it, mother sees it. Nope, not a thing. It's so annoying. I think that's probably it, eh? Do we have any more? This is their channel, by the way. Dapeng Prank. I'll get myself out of there. So if you want to go take a look, they've got cringy, normal social experiment stuff too. That's stuff I really hate. But they do some, like I said, they did these valuable social experiments that show you how society behaves. So this is what I wanted to talk about. And I wanted to draw a very clear line because I know that there'll be a lot of foreigners who've visited China or live in China who've had a different experience personally, as did I. You know, I did not, at first at least, for the longest time, I thought that China was an incredibly hospitable, friendly, welcoming country. And yes, especially when I first got to China, not as much anymore. There was a big emphasis on cooperation with the West, and you know, foreigners were their big thing to focus on, in foreign countries, and learning English, and you know, getting out there. And it's fantastic. I met so many friends and so many people who wanted to talk to me, wanted to invite me for dinner, wanted to help me out with, you know, in various ways. So for me, when somebody would mention anything along these lines, I would dismiss it, thinking that that's a bunch of bollocks. However, having lived there for 14 and a half years and personally stopped fights, stopped pickpockets, you know, things like this, personally. And I've got video footage of it too, which you've probably seen if you watch my videos. And if not, I'll show them again in the future. I know it's not bollocks. The way Chinese people treat other Chinese people is, you know, strangers. Please, once again, I'm talking about strangers, not family and close friends. It's awful. It's terrible. China's supposed to be this one big, you know, strong nation of people that work together, you know, 中国万岁 or whatever it is, you know, and all this thing about like us versus the world. China's great. China is amazing, you know. 我们的中国, they always say, like our China. The thing is, maybe each individual person thinks that China belongs to them or belongs to the Chinese people or something, but each individual person will not help another Chinese person in trouble. Very, very few do. And of course you will find exceptions to the rule. I've met exceptions. I've seen exceptions to the rule myself in person. But like these social experiments have proven, out of just a random sample of people from different walks of life, Chinese people, mainland Chinese people in mainland China, are too afraid to help their fellow countrymen in need, in fear of retribution, in fear of being caught up in a scam, in fear of having their lifestyle impacted, and the guorizi sort of thing, which means pass the day, being disrupted. And I needed to bring this to your attention. I've been wanting to talk about this for a very long time, and I'm very glad that I came across the Dapeng Prank guys again, so I could show you some of what they've done. And of course, you can just search online. There's a lot of gory stuff that I couldn't show, you know, where you have, for instance, people beating up, like a guy beating up his mistress or wife or something with onlookers just watching, people being murdered without anyone stepping in, people being run over by cars without being, people stepping in. everybody knows about the famous one about the 2-year-old toddler that was run over by a van and passed by many, many, many passerbys. No one helped, and the kid got run over multiple times and actually obviously died. And there was another one more recently where a woman was struck by a car at a pedestrian crossing and would have survived if somebody had stepped in to help, but she lay there and got run over again and obviously killed. This is a thing that's a real big social ill in mainland China. And Chinese people know this. And I'm willing to take the abuse. I'm willing to take all the hate from everybody for bringing this to light. But this is something that needs to be discussed. This is something that Chinese people need to be ashamed of. It's not a good trait. You should be ashamed of this, and you should be talking about it. You should be fixing it. Even if you are a good Samaritan, if you are, go out there and talk about it. Fix it. This is the biggest, most horrible issue that I see with mainland China in society. Anyway, guys, I'm going to open it up to some questions. Sorry if this was a little harsh, but very little makes me angrier than people with apathy like that when people are in trouble. So now there are a couple of super chats I'm going to go through, and then I'll read some normal questions. So, Madsuf Jada says, is there an every man for himself attitude? Absolutely. And that is modern China. Modern China at the moment is all about, let's make as much money as I can. The most important thing is me and my family and no one else. And one could say that all over the world there's an attitude like that. But from my own observations, even in South Africa, where there are racial tensions, people trying to kill each other all the time, I have helped and had other people help me whenever there's been trouble. There's still this undercurrent of society that if you see someone broken down on the side of the road, you offer to give them a jump start or give them a tow. If you see someone who's in trouble, you help them. You know? Let's see what's next. I think this is by Tyler Freeman. Thank you for your generosity. He says, I think China is in the same state as much of Europe was before World War I. Increasing power and severe nationalism, things we pay dearly for. I will agree with you. But there's a little bit of a difference here. We're living in the modern world, and there's no place for this kind of thing. It's just a coping mechanism of the Communist Party to rile up nationalism in order to cover up for its own mistakes. So, I mean, anyone who's smart sees why it is the way it is. And I think anyone who's smart also understands that it's a very dangerous path to walk down. Okay, happy Friday. Thank you. Yes, happy Friday. I know it's not a happy topic we're talking about today. But yes, happy Friday. Next. Hello from Canada. This is Mitchell. Sorry, that was Andrew Price at Happy Friday. Mitchell Bentio. It sounds French. I could be wrong. Please excuse me. Hello from Canada. Love your content and happy to support you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Chances of being turned away on a Shanghai tourist visa? This is from Anuj Guel. No, I don't think so. If you have a tourist visa, unless you're like me making videos on YouTube that are critical of the CCP, you shouldn't get turned away. All right. Thank you, Winston. Please read Henry George, eye-opening. Thank you, Nate Blair. I'm not sure who that is. I'll look into it. WD40, thank you. Josema Fernandez Berares, no justification for that behavior. If that cyborgs run the world, we will all be in big trouble. Okay, well, you know, I don't like to delegate a group of people and say that they're XYZ, but what I will say is that mainland Chinese society has led to this apathy and this inability, I should say. It's not even an unwillingness. It's an inability to help their fellow man in trouble because of what's happened in the past. Of course, there's no excuses for this behavior, but one can still understand why it exists, right? Let's see. Where were we? Good evening. Stay awesome. Thank you. You too. Thank you, Eric, and thanks for all you do. Thank you so much for James and Eric. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Lady AHG. And yeah, I won't read that out, Kane Ravenlock, but you still have the coolest name. All right. So Let's see what's going on. Post Uyghur Muslim organ harvesting concentration camps as a comment on any YouTube video. Wait 30 seconds, refresh YouTube auto deletes the comment. Censorship. You have to understand what's going on with YouTube right now. They obviously worried about anything controversial causing them a loss of money. In fact, our podcast has been demonetized this entire month, and my channel has had 2 demonetizations. This will probably be the 3rd one in a month. And I only put out 4 videos a month. So it's the way it goes. It's not going to stop me from speaking the truth, that's for sure. Okay. Will the social point system force people to help? You know, they did try to enact a... the Good Samaritan law in Shenzhen. I remember they tried to enforce it because the thing is there isn't a Good Samaritan law in China. There have been pretty high-profile cases, in fact, incredibly high-profile cases where people have helped people in need and been sued. And this has put off society completely. Very, very famous. You can look it up where a guy, helped someone who'd been injured by a car and they blamed him for running into them, and he ended up, having to pay huge amounts of compensation and all sorts of crap. There's been all sorts of things like that. It's unfortunate. Everyone's trying to get their pot of gold. When you see this wealth coming into your country and everyone around you is just kind of making money, if you're not making money, you're going to want that money and you'll find a way, and that's where all these scams come from. Anyway, time for a beer, Winston. I agree. I can't wait to have a beer. I have to finish this up, and I have to finish editing Monday's ADV China, which is going to be a fun one, where Sea Milk and I almost die of pollution in the north of Vietnam. So I'm just finishing that up, and then it's beers all around. Trust me on that one. Okay, let's see. What's this? It's someone's going on. This guy's tangentially related, but I was going through ADV China. Heard you call my hometown of Elon Musk a backwater city. How could you, Winston? Well, it's still awesome. Thank you, Lady ADH. David C. How would you rate your ability to speak and read Chinese? Middle school, high school level? Probably middle school. There's a funny thing with at least my level of Chinese is when I got to China, I did not want to learn Chinese. At that time, I spoke Japanese fairly well. I'm not going to say fluent because that's a lie, but well enough. That I'd been studying Japanese because I was planning to go to Japan. But life just happened to get in the way, and I went to China first, and I saw that China was the place I really wanted to go, and not Japan. Which I'm very grateful that turned out that way, actually, because I feel like I had a much bigger adventure in China. So I didn't want to learn Chinese, but you have to pick up phrases because especially when I got to China, nobody could speak English. Maybe if you lived in Shanghai or something, but especially Shenzhen, which is a migrant city, and nobody could speak English at all. So I had to learn, and I started learning bits and pieces. Eventually I ended up studying Chinese in the Shenzhen University, which I did for a time. How's it going, Sea Milk?
Hey.
Sea Milk's coming in the room here. Come join me if you like.
Sure.
Anyway, I started studying Chinese, and I got pretty good. In fact, I got top marks in my class 3 times in a row. I'm not trying to brag or anything. It wasn't like the biggest achievement. I was just doing Rumen Ban and Chuji Ban, which is, like beginners and intermediate. But yeah, you can ask Sea Milk. I think my reading's probably a little better than yours.
Yeah.
But your spoken's way better than mine.
That's how it works.
Although I got the colloquials down.
Yeah, the idioms.
I'll give you guys a little idiom here, just for the hell of it. Lao niu chenen cao, which means the old cow eats tender grass. And this is something that you say when you see an old man with a young woman. Anyway,
Very useful for everyone.
there's a lot of this grass stuff, like
I love grass.
兔子不吃窝边草 means the rabbit does not eat the grass around its burrow, which means don't screw the crew, don't dip your pen in company ink, that kind of thing. I've just realized that grass is synonymous with, I guess, women or something.
Guess so.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. So yes, I would rate it okay, not fantastic. All right, let's see. How does China compare to other Asian countries you visited in these regards? It's the worst. No joke. All of the Asian countries that I've visited, I've seen people be very, very helpful to strangers on the street. like every single one, even poorer countries than China. It's got to do with the fact that people are, like I said, finally earning money, and they're like, I've got something, and they want to hold on to it so tight, and they're worried that somebody's going to scam them, you know. And to be honest, in the rural countryside of China, you don't actually see this behavior. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
People are so much more friendly. When we were on Conquering Northern China and stuff, again, it's kind of unfair because we're foreigners. Like, would they treat another Chinese person like that? Probably not. They'd probably still treat them with suspicion. But I find the rural people to be a lot more open-hearted and a lot more genuine than people in the city. And I suppose that's the same everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. No need to read. Okay, well, thank you. I won't read it then. I appreciate that. What have we got here? Thank you, Lady AGH. You're awesome. How is your wife adapting to USA culture? You can check out her channel. It's called Who Knows, HUKNOWS, Who Knows. And she makes videos talking about her experiences in America. So you can go and hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Just called your wife a horse.
Yeah, I did. Okay. Are there any different factions within the CCP? Yes, they are, but that's what this whole corruption crackdown thing is all about. Kane Ravenlock, lol, Winston, I had the same plan. I will go back to Japan, had a pit stop in Hong Kong, and got stuck in China. Haha, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
It is a trap. Fantastic. All right. Thank you very much, Jan. Let me not...
Jan.
Is it Jan? No, it's Jan. Jan Chiskersky? Is it maybe Jan then? I'm sorry if I got that wrong. And there is one more that I just can't read for some reason.
Mintran.
How do you even see? Oh, some more beer money. Well, you heard that. We're going to have to go and get some beers after we've edited ADV China.
Sounds good.
I don't think people understand how much bloody work it is for what we do.
You got to understand.
You got to understand, China. No, seriously.
ADV.
Yeah, ADV. Thanks, guys. I think it would be unfair if I didn't read a comment from the normal thing. So let's see. How bad is government corruption in China from Mr. B? It's very bad. It's endemic. It's part of the way it works. Having been privy to a lot of government meetings, on many different levels, corruption is involved. Guanxi, which means connections or friendships, things like that, is an integral part of business in China. Not just business, but everyday life. So if you need to do anything in the government, like get a permit or whatever it is, you will always end up taking the government officials out for dinner where you have to buy them a lavish meal. You have to buy expensive baijiu or cognac or something to give to them. All that kind of crap. You've been there.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And then what happens is, so that's on a very low level. And of course, the actual handing over of money or kickbacks and stuff is usually involved as well. This is something that they try to crack down on, but it always ends up creeping back in. Like they didn't allow people to accept money or gold or anything. So what happened was they would give them like a mooncake during the Mooncake Festival, and the tin that the mooncake was in would be made of gold. Things like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always ways around it. And I'll do one more before I'm unfortunately going to have to sign off. So let us see. Who do we have next? Why does the CCP tolerate you criticizing them on a large scale? They don't. Obviously, I'm not currently in China. I know this is a fantastic green screen. It looks like real life. Look, I'm going to go back in there.
Dude, I'm losing you.
Yeah, I'm just going to go. I'm going to go here.
Come back.
Oh, what's those weird little light things? I'm going to go all the way to this side. Maybe I'll talk to this guy. Hey, how's it going? No, seriously.
He's rude. Ignore
Yeah. Totally rude. See, they don't help anyone. They're just kidding. No, look, I am back and forth, but I can't let my movements be known because it would be stupid. I only really started to open up, honestly, and do this kind of these critical videos after I'd left China. And the reason why I started is because the nationalists attacked my wife, attacked my family in South Africa, attacked some random cousins of mine that I hadn't seen in like 20 plus years, and just started to behave in such a distasteful, underhanded manner in order to shut me up and come up with all these weird conspiracy theories about me and post all this crap and try to get my wife fired or arrested for being a spy, constantly reported me as a spy. This is when I was still just making very normal videos about everyday life in China. And when they went after my family, that was when I just decided that this is a sick, sick society. This is a problem that needs to be talked about. Why is it that the government would condone people attacking other people's families like this? Because it is condoned, because it's never condemned. And that's what made me change my mind. It doesn't mean that I don't still see a lot of positive things when it comes to China, especially Chinese people, and especially Chinese people in Taiwan and Hong Kong and the Chinese friends that I've had my entire, childhood and everywhere else. I absolutely love Chinese culture and I love Chinese people, but this society that breeds these sick nationalists that will attack people, refuse to help their fellow man on the street, even though they claim to love China so much, I decided that I have to take a stand and talk about it. But of course, it would be foolhardy to talk about these kind of things if I was in mainland China, because as it is, I was harassed by the police almost on a weekly basis in China. So that's why currently Seamilk and myself, we're set up in LA and we're doing our stuff from here. It gives us the freedom to not only escape random incarceration and detention and being disappeared, but it also allows us to easily travel around the world to different interesting places in Asia and beyond and just kind of expand. So I think that's about it for today. Thank you very much, guys, for sitting through this one. I know it was very much, it was a downer. It wasn't like a very happy Friday thing. So I think it's time for everyone to forget their worries for at least the evening. Go grab a drink. Have a good time. And as always, you know the drill. Stay awesome. See you guys next time. And let's see if I cut myself off.